what is up? So now I got the NFC South draft breakdown. I'll go through each team and give my thoughts on what they did in the draft and all the players that they drafted. So I'll start off with the Atlanta Falcons, who took Drake London with their first pick. I don't love it as a scheme fit with Drake London, just because I think they needed to get more speed on their offense. And Drake London, he primarily played as a big slot receiver for USC, which is kind of what Kyle Pitts did last year. But I think you could see an expanding role. Maybe Kyle Pitts goes on the outside, or Drake London, I think, will more likely be the outside receiver. So, yeah, I think if Drake London does go on the outside, I do worry that he doesn't have the speed to get a ton of separation, but if he can develop a good connection with whoever the quarterback is, and they can develop, like, back shoulders, and he can do contested catches. He was amazing at that in college, so he's already got that to his game. So I think he can be a really good wide receiver. I don't think he'll be the best receiver in the class, and they took him as the first receiver. That's kind of why I knock it a bit. But I still think he's a good player and could work out. But I could also see him just being a bust, to be honest. And then Arnold Ebiketie with their second round pick. Yeah, I thought this was a tremendous pick. I did think maybe getting a more developmental player with higher upside at defense end would be a better pick. Like, I think taking David Ojabo I would prefer that much more, just because his upside is greater, and you don't really need to win next year. You'd prefer not to, so you can kind of get that quarterback of the future if Desmond Ridder isn't that, or you should just get a good draft pick anyway because you're not ready to win now. But either way, Arnold Ebiketie is a really good edge rusher. Edge rush was one of the weakest positions on the whole of the Falcons team. So, yeah, getting Arnold Ebiketie, I think he'll be a really good player. So, yeah, you do get a locked-in starter there. And then Troy Anderson, I think you got yourself another starter here. Coming from small school, Montana State, but he was one of the best athletes we ever seen at the linebacker position. Tested out amazing, got great speed, sideline to sideline run defender, can do anything you really ask him to. There will probably be a bit of a learning curve coming from that smaller competition at Montana State. But I think he'll do well with it. I think he's a really good player. And in a few years' time, this could be seen as a steal. Like, he could become an elite linebacker. I would not be surprised. So I did like that pick. And I thought it was better than taking, like, Nakobe Dean, who I saw a lot of Atlanta Falcons fan being like, why did we not take Nakobe Dean? What the heck? Nakobe Dean was there. I think Troy Anderson is a better player now and for the future. And then Desmond Ridder in the third round. Another great pick. Desmond Ridder, he was one of my favorite quarterbacks in this class. Probably my second favorite quarterback besides Malik Willis. Just really consistent player. He's got a few things bad about him. Like, his accuracy is not great. But he's got the experience of starting a lot of games, played good against good competition when he was able to play. Like, I thought he played good against Alabama, even in the loss. Really good at going through his progressions, strong arm, and he's pretty fast also, around a good 40. So I think he's kind of like Desmond Ridder, he's kind of like Marcus Mariota, who they signed in the offseason, of course. Pretty similar players, but yeah, I like Desmond Ridder. I thought a good player to take a shot on to potentially be your future quarterback. Deangelo Malone, also not a bad pick. More of a speed edge rusher. After you took Arnold Ebiketie, he's more of that power, finesse player. And I love double dipping at the edge position because it is such a weak position. And I think they got two good players that will be there for a long time in Malone and Ebiketie. Yeah, Malone's a really good athlete and explosive. I just think he'll be a good player. So, yeah, it won't be a good run defender, but everything else about his game, pass rush wise, he's a good player. And then Tyler Geo, that was a good pick in the fifth round. I thought he had a possibility to go earlier. I think this was probably about his range that he should have gone in. Kind of getting that power back for the system that they got in there is a good idea. Kind of be Arthur Smith's budget Derrick Henry, because he's not Derrick Henry. Because Algier doesn't have the speed, but he's good, powerful runner. And yeah, I like the pick of Tyler Algier. They kind of just need that one other compliment to him, and then they should have a good running back duo. And then Justin Schaefer out of Georgia. Yeah, it was an okay pick. Like, Justin Schaefer's not a tremendous player, but you still, I mean, depth on the offensive line is decent. Maybe he can turn into more. I just doubt it. He just wasn't a very good player at Georgia. And I think who was the Georgia player, bro? I'm tripping. Jamar Sawyer, I think he was still available. That would have been a much better pick. So I didn't love it. And then John Fitzpatrick, I mean, hardly played at Georgia. Was mainly just a blocking tight end. So that'll probably be his role. Doesn't really offer you anything in the pass catching game. So, I mean, blocking tight end, whatever. And then the Carolina Panthers, they took Mccollum with their first pick. I loved it. I'm so glad. Well, I'm not glad as a Saints fan, but I'm glad for them that they did not take a quarterback, because I thought that would have been a really big mistake, especially seeing how the quarterbacks went off the board also, which we'll kind of get to. Mccollum falls to them at number 6. They got themselves a plug-and-play starting left tackle, play opposite of Taylor Moton on the other side. Probably move Brady Christensen into guard, or he's just a backup, because they did sign Austin Corbett, who played the other guard position, and then Bali Bozeman at center. You got yourself a pretty decent offensive line now. Compared to last year, they really improved their offensive line, and Mccollum will be an amazing run blocker and does need to develop a bit as a pass protector. I think he can do it in time. And yeah, I don't think you kick him into guard. You start him at tackle, and I think he'll be a really good player. And then Matt Corral, quarterback in the 3rd round. Yeah, another amazing pick. Like, 3rd round, they got Matt Corral. Like, nobody would have expected that before the draft. Like, people were suspecting Matt Corral could go number 6 to them. Like, they get him in the 3rd round. Take a shot. He could start this year. Would not be surprised if he beats out Sam Darnold for a starting job. And if he doesn't beat him out, then maybe next year you try him again. And if it doesn't work out with him, then whatever. It was a 3rd round pick. You didn't invest a ton in him. But he does have all the traits to be a good quarterback. Lightning release. Like, he's kind of better in an RPO system. That's kind of all he did at Ole Miss. But also is a good athlete. So I think he could be a really good player. Just needs a good situation around him, which the Panthers are building. And then they take Brandon Smith out of Penn State. Yeah, I like Brandon Smith as a player. Just a bit raw. Like, just doesn't look like a natural linebacker. He's just a really good athlete, though. Was highly recruited out of high school. It's like a 4 or 5 star prospect. So has that pedigree. And if he can develop, like, I don't think he's ready to start. I think he could develop into a starting linebacker. I would not be surprised. So thought that was a good pick. And then Amari Barno out of Virginia Tech. Yeah, ran a 4.46 at the combine, which was just crazy. Was the fastest edge rusher in the whole class. Don't mind it. Just take a shot on somebody who's that freakishly athletic and is really tall also, with a massive wingspan. Just isn't a great pass rusher. Is a decent run defender, but that's kind of it. And you can hopefully develop him, but he is a 6th round pick. And then Cade Mays, yeah, played tackle at Tennessee, but he's definitely a guard in the NFL. Just doesn't have the foot speed and the natural guard tackle play to stick there in the league. Kind of profiles more as a guard with his size and everything. So, I mean, nothing special about it. You got yourself probably a backup, pretty decent offensive lineman. And then taking a flyer on Kalen Barnes, I thought he'd go earlier just with the speed of 4.23. Nearly broke the record at a combine. So, I mean, when you have somebody like that, you know he's going to be a good special teamer, 7th round. That's kind of all you're looking for. Just isn't really an amazing corner to actually stick at the position. So then we'll go to the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, the Saints took Chris Olave with their first pick. Yeah, I love Chris Olave. Think he's an amazing player. The Saints really needed that number 2 wide receiver opposite of Michael Thomas. They haven't had a good, consistent player there for a long time. And getting Chris Olave, who can offer you a good deep threat and really good route runner, who's probably the most pro-ready receiver and probably has the highest floor just because he's has such a big sample size and does everything so well. I think it's a great pick for the Saints. They really needed that receiver position. I thought this was probably the best receiver for the Saints that they could take, kind of having that speed and route running opposite of Michael Thomas and be a really good weapon for Jameis, who loves throwing the ball deep. And then Trevor Penning at the 19th pick. I thought this was another really good pick. Amazing run blocker. Does need to improve his pass protection. Is not amazing at that. Just his hand placement and everything isn't great. But he's already got that good run blocker that you can lean on. Will really help out the run game for the Saints. And if he does develop his pass protection, he could be one of the best tackles in the league. I would not be surprised, because that's kind of his only deficiency. It is a big one, but I have trust in the Saints to be able to get that out of him. And then they take kind of a surprising pick in Alontae Taylor out of Tennessee. It sounds like they want to play him at corner, although I think he could play safety and nickel. Like, he can definitely play anywhere on the secondary. And I think the Saints will kind of use him like that, but sounds like he's going to mainly be a corner, which I didn't think was the biggest need for the Saints. Like, I thought Paulson Adebo would look really good as a rookie last year. And then, of course, they have Marshawn Lattimore, and they also have Bradley Roby and Chauncey in the slot. So I thought their cornerback group was great, but, I mean, you can never use enough. It's never bad to have enough depth, but I just thought maybe later you could have taken somebody else instead of second round taking Alontae Taylor, which I thought was a bit of a reach. But, yeah, we'll see, because he's a really good athlete. Kind of only had that 1 year, though, that he broke out, and, like, his other 3 years were kind of mediocre at Tennessee. But last year was really good, so I'm hopeful that he can continue on that trajectory in the NFL. So this was a decent pick. DeMarco Jackson of Appalachian State. Yeah, was a really good player last year. I think he'll probably, immediately he'll be a really good special teamer because he's a good athlete, good blitzer, also good in the run defense. Yeah, he's not the best in coverage, but he does have the athletic tools to be good at that. So I don't think he'll ever be like an elite player. I think he could be a good starting linebacker one day. Possibly when Demario Davis retires, DeMarco Jackson can step in as the starter. Would not be surprised. But I thought it was a good pick, because you have yourselves a reliable player in DeMarco Jackson. And then taking a shot on Jordan Jackson, who was statistically the most productive pass rusher in the whole of college football last year. But of course, it's at Air Force, and yeah, competition level is not great. But that's something to take a shot on. Somebody who's the most productive pass rusher. Played only at like 280 or 290 at Air Force. But there's probably something to do with actually playing at Air Force. He probably can't be a massive dude. But I thought it was a really good pick. He is very raw, of course. But if you can develop him, I think he could be a good tweener, kind of playing end and tackle, which the Saints do like quite a lot. They kind of move their dudes around a lot. So I think he could make the roster. I think he has a good chance. And then the last team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They took Logan Hall with their first pick in the second round. I thought it was decent. It wasn't my favorite player. I think Travis Jones would have been a better pick here, pairing him with Vita Vea in that interior. That'd just be amazing. Like, he would not be able to run in that duo. But Logan Hall, he can play edge and interior. I think he'll probably be like their William Golston or Ndamukong Suh in their defense, which they didn't need to get a replacement with because Suh has not come back. So, yeah, somebody like Logan Hall, I think he'll start straight away or just be a really good rotational player straight away. And also I think he could develop into a really good player. I just didn't think it was the best player they could have took at this point in the draft, but I still like the pick. Like, it just seems like a player the Bucs would take. And then they took Luke Goedeke with their other second round pick. Another good pick. I mean, I won't say another. I didn't love Logan Hall, but I think this is a good pick. Played tackle at Central Michigan. Probably going to play guard in the NFL. That's just kind of how he profiles into. And Ali Marpet retired, and Alex Kapilef, I think he slides into that left guard position day one. Would not be surprised. He probably competes with Robert Hainsey, who they drafted last year at Notre Dame. Either one of those dudes, or Aaron Stinney, I think they got. I think you got some guys to have a good battle with in camp, and whoever comes out, you got your guard. I think Luke Goedeke has a very good chance of doing that. Just a good all-around player, looked really good at Central Michigan, was lower level competition. But yeah, he's a pretty good player, and second round shows that they believe in him. And then they take Rachaad White in the third round. Another good pick, maybe a bit early to take kind of just a pass-catching running back, because that's kind of what I think Rachaad White would be, kind of that third down back, like the James White for Tom Brady. I think he could develop very well with Tom Brady in that role and become a really reliable target for him on third down. Yeah, I don't think he'll be used as much as a running back, because they kind of got Leonard Fournette to do that. So I think Rachaad White kind of coming in on later downs, really, he's actually a good route runner if you want to split him out in the slot or something or out wide. I think they could use him all over the place at receiver and running back. Thought it was a good pick. And then take Cade Otton at a tight end. Yeah, good player, really good blocker. Just didn't get a lot of production at Washington, was kind of their offense, so not really him. Yeah, they did need to replenish that tight end room, and Cade Otton thought he was a decent player to do that with. And then they take a punter in the fourth round. Don't love it. I mean, a punter in the fourth round is very early, but I mean, they don't have a lot of needs, although I don't think it's really what I would do at this point in the draft. But Jake Camarda, who was their punter? I didn't think their punter was that bad, but if they think they can improve at that position, it's one of their needs, then go for it. Don't really know much about Jake Camarda. And then Zion Mccollum in the fifth. I thought this was a steal of a draft pick. I thought he would go much earlier. I thought he had a chance to go in the second round. Would have not been surprised. Scored a perfect 10 on the RAS score, which was crazy. Most athletic cornerback ever. I thought that enough would have got him drafted early. But then he's also a pretty decent cornerback. Was Sam Houston State, but played well. Shows his speed on tape. Like, he can just sticks to the receivers because they cannot gain any separation with that speed. Yeah, I just thought it was a really good pick at this point. Like, fifth round for a potential starting corner. Yeah, you do that every day, and especially with the contracts they got coming up. If you can develop Zion McCollum, I think you could be a good starting outside cornerback for the Bucs. Of man. And then O'Keefe, he's literally just supposedly he's just an amazing blocking tight end. That's kind of all about him. Nobody really knew who he was. It wasn't on like anybody's radar. Like, he says he caught a total of 12 passes in college. Okay, so don't really see the point of this. Don't know if he'll even make the roster. So that was a bit weird, doubling up a tight end. Like, that you maybe could have gotten somebody else. And then seventh round, Andre Anthony. Yeah, this was actually a pretty decent pick. Like, he's just been injured a ton at LSU. That's kind of it. Like, maybe if he didn't get injured, he could have shown much better tape to get him drafted earlier. Because he does have everything to be a good edge rusher. So taking a shot on somebody who's just had injuries in the past, so he's not been able to play. Why not? 7th round, not a big investment. Could potentially turn out into a good rotational player. So that'll bring us to the grades. So for the Buccaneers, it was a bit underwhelming. Like, I didn't love their draft class. Mccollum, though, probably the best pick of it. It's not bad, though. I'd probably give it a B minus, or a B. I'd give it a B because I think they got themselves a starting guard, a starting defensive tackle or end, 3rd down running back a bit early, backup tight end, and then Zion McCollum can maybe develop into a starting corner. So it wasn't bad. And this Saints, Chris Olave was slam dunk, Trevor Penning slam dunk. On to Taylor, a bit of a reach. DeMarco Jackson, I think he'll be a decent backup. Same thing with Jordan Jackson, who does have some upside. But the trade wasn't great. They had to give up a lot. Like, didn't have a 3rd or 4th round pick. Gave up a lot next year also. So I'll give it a B minus. Just because of all the trades. Although I like the players, I'm because of reaching for Alontae Taylor. Baltimore, Buffalo Bills. What am I doing? Carolina Panthers. Yeah, Aquanu, Corral, Smith, Barno, Mays, Barnes. I don't dislike anything about this. I think it's an A. Everything they got great players at all points. Like it. And then the Falcons. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Drake London. Ebiketie was good. Troy Anderson good. Ritter at that point was very good. Malone also. Algier could be a starter for you straight away. Schaefer was a huge fan. Then Fitzpatrick, blocking tight end. Another A. I thought they did a good job, the Falcons. So that's my grades for the NFC South. I'll have the AFC South next, and I'll just go through West, then North, and then we're done. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.